What's going on, people? Today we are going to look at my photo journal with Jessy The Bodee. Okay, let's get into it. So I did a shoot last year, 2022, around or for Halloween with the model Jessy The Bodee. You can probably look her up also under Jayonce. Wonderful model, wonderful person, highly talented, multi-talented. So I'm glad I met her working with Nina Sheree, and I'm glad I've gotten to work with her on some personal projects on my own. So this is something new that I'm doing where I take a look at work that I've done and just kind of go through what I was thinking, what I captured. Now, I did this a long time ago. I'm just kind of breaking into this idea of doing a journal. So when I do it in the future, it'll be fresher. It'll be a lot easier for me to talk about what was actually going on in my head and stuff like that. To be honest, if I can do it when I get home from a shoot, that'd be even better. But we'll work with what we got going on right now. So let's pull up some images and go through them. All right. So what we were going for, it was Halloween. So we were thinking Little Red Riding Hood. We actually had like a woodsy type location, but that fell through. So it's like, well, why don't we go for like a concrete jungle type thing? So we went to the Walls at Wynwood. So if you don't know what that is in Miami, there's this like 2 or 3 block section where it's like an arts district, and all of the walls are graffitied and painted. So it's kind of amazing. I don't go there often, but I've been there a couple times, and whenever I go, I always kind of find something different. So that's what I love about it. So if you are shooting something in particular, you probably could find a wall or an area that works for that. So these pictures, I'm pulling these out of Lightroom. So there's no color correction or anything like that. Maybe some, I don't know, I might have done some exposure type things, but not much is done with these. So we're really just looking at the composition and what I was going for when I grabbed it. I do have a few finished images. We'll look at those when we're done. So again, Red Riding Hood theme. This is just straightforward. There's nothing else here, and I like that. So you got the black, and then the red is gonna pop off of it because it's a little bit farther away and the color's different. You even got like her shorts don't disappear into that, so I like that. One thing I normally do, you try not to do the same thing all the time, but when I pose women in general, and definitely curvy women, I normally have them cross their ankles so you get that nice V down there at the bottom, and I crop it so that boom, that's kind of right where it ends. I just like that, so everything with Jessy works because she's very confident, and that's what you see. You don't just see how pretty she is, but you see the energy that she's bringing to the shoot. All right, next. Yep. So kind of in the same area here, but punched in a little bit tighter, so you can see her face, you can see her eyes, and I like shooting with like this shallow depth of frame here, depth of field here, because she's gonna look even that much sharper in comparison to what's going on in the background. There's even a person back there if you look, but because they're blurred, they add color and texture to the image as opposed to a distraction. All right, so listen, this shot, it's apparent what we're shooting, right? We're shooting Jessy's butt. That's one of her major assets. And I think that if you're respectful and not creepy, you have to get things like this. Whatever the model physically brings to the table, I think it's important to make sure it's showcased. So if someone is looking for that, a brand or what have you, if they need that, then they know it's there, So as long as things are done tastefully and respectfully, it makes sense, So when you're trying to shoot for butt, what you do, of course, shoot from the back, you normally want to push a hip out one direction or the other. When you're shaped like Jessy is, there's not a lot that she has to do. But if you have someone who they want to show that, or you just want to show curve as an artist and they don't have it, then there are things you do. You know, you arch the back, you push the butt out just a little bit more, and then you see how she's pushing her hip to the left of frame. You know, if you don't have anything or as much as you want, you push that hip as far as possible. So you create a shape where there may be none, you know, so which is why, like, I personally, that's why I like working with curvy women, because I would much rather work towards inhibiting something that may be more than I want to work with than trying to create something that may not be there, you know. And again, I like this, all of this dark, all of this black, and then the red goes poop, you know, right off of the frame. All right, what do we got? Okay, so again, we were going with the whole Red Riding Hood jungle type theme. Couldn't get woods. We did concrete jungle, but I saw, you know, this huge bush, and red and green play nice together. So I was like, well, that's perfect. And the way it's cropped, you don't see anything else. So had you not seen the other images, as far as you know, we are in the woods. So that's one great thing that you can do as a photographer. Shoot wide, capture everything, but then also shoot close, and then you can create worlds that may not actually exist because you shot it in a way where you can't see everything else that's going on. Again, you know, as you can see, her ankles are crossed, so we got that nice V at the bottom of the frame there. And I like the fact that she's playing with the hood. That's something that's important, to always kind of play with everything that you got going on in the shoot, and that just gives, those little touches give you a little bit more. I wish I had noticed that the space between her shirt and her bottoms weren't closed, and that's, I really would recommend to everybody, if you can, you know, have on a set a stylist, you know, or a makeup artist, or an assistant, just a second set of eyes, because a lot of times when you're a photographer, well, I talk about me, you know, I'm so focused on other things that sometimes I miss those little details that make a big deal. You know, I actually don't mind the stockings, the red netting. It's just I didn't want to see the top of it there, but I totally missed that, you know. So yeah, an assistant is a cheat code for photography. All right, this I like because you have the best of both worlds. You got on the left of the frame here, you got that jungle, that wooded area I was talking about, and then on the right, now we know we're in a concrete jungle, you know. And she has this, I mean, she could be hailing a taxi, you know what I mean? I just like the way that feels, you know. And then pulling up the hood, I just, it has a look, even just the way she's positioned, you know what I mean? It has that kind of coquettish type thing to it. This is a perfect image. I like this. So again, shooting Jessy's premier assets here, but it's a lot more subtle because, you know, the hood is kind of bringing shadow to it. And just the way, I just think the way she's posed, it works really well. And her ankles are crossed a little bit more, so that V at the bottom is a little bit deeper, and I just like the way it fades out of the frame. I'm pretty sure I would have cropped this over a little bit more to get rid of at least the sidewall. But I like this green wall here too, though, you know. But yeah, and one of my mentors talks about shooting to edit. So a lot of times people say, "Oh, get it in frame." I would rather have much more in the frame than I need, that I can get rid of later, than to not have something that I wish I had, you know. So I don't mind shooting a little wide, knowing that I can crop it later. You know, I mean, most of us have decent cameras that have a fair amount of megapixels to get rid of. So cropping won't kill you, won't hurt anything. All right, so I like this pose, very frank. I like the color in the background, you know, it kind of plays off of this. Of course, in processing, I would make the background a little bit darker so that she comes off the frame a little bit more. Something like this, while it is sexy, has less to do with how she's posed and what she's showing you, and more to do with her confidence and her fierceness as she looks at the camera. So I normally recommend to most models to get some sort of acting training. If you know how to act and you know how to say something when you can't actually say something, the viewer feels it when they see the image. I like this. I think I just like this this area where we shot, because I like this background and I like these colors back there, you know. And of course the turning back, that's always great. Now I will say, normally I take hair off the front shoulder and put it in the back, but I'm on the fence here because she has the hood on. So if anything, probably should have tucked the hair in the hood so it wouldn't cover her chin. But I still like the shot. Now, one thing about shooting on location, if you don't have an assistant and just really big, heavy equipment, it can be difficult for you to get what you want, So like here, I wish that she was lit, the back of her legs was lit a little bit more, and maybe I could have, had I backed the light up some, but I don't think I had a really big light because, you're outside, there's wind and all that type of stuff. So, but that's always something to be conscious of. And I think it's important for you to have a bigger understanding of what your equipment does and know that in your head, because when you're in the moment, you miss things. And then off the back of your camera, you don't always see things. So it's important to have a good grasp of, hey, when I do this, this happens, even if I can't tell by what I'm looking at. So like I say, love this background. This is just so much fun. I didn't even see at the time, and when I say even at the time, I don't think even till now, I didn't see the hopscotch board, which is something maybe we could have played with. Now I don't wear heels, so I don't know about hopscotch and big heels, but that could have worked. That could have been fun to kind of play with. One thing I do wish, I had shot this from a lower angle so that there was more of her against the wall as opposed to just from the mid thigh up. I think that would have looked a whole lot cooler. But I do like this kind of whole setup, in general. And then the fact that she's smiling hints to the fact that this is a playful type idea. People tend to focus a lot on being sexy, but they forget that a smile in and of itself is sexy too. So you don't always have to be doing loose steel. You can actually play and be silly and be fun, and it works. It's still just as sexy. I love this idea. So this is it's a walled in area. To your bottom right, that's a door. And of course, the top is an open ceiling. And I just love the way that this worked. That red pops off of the black, and then she's framed in by the two blues. Of course, processing it, I would pull up the shadows here on the bottom so it pulls her away from the wall, because right now her bottom half is disappearing into it. But this is just really cool. I'm actually sitting on the ground taking this shot, so that worked. I like that. This is sitting in that same area, and across the street, that's the wall there. So, again, the magic of a narrow depth of field. So, and then I think it's pretty compressed. So it, pulling that background towards her, but it's still blurred. It really centers her, in the frame, in the photo. All right, so same area, but a full body shot. So not as much blur, but I like the fact that she's popping off the background the way she is. I normally don't like, shadow like this, but I didn't have anywhere else to put my lights. So, but it does work. It's fine. Like, she's lit well. So, we're good with it. All right. This shot didn't make it into any of my final images, but I like it because I like the way that she's posed. I just don't like that sluice there at the bottom. I think I shot it to see if it worked, and it didn't. So she didn't pick this, I didn't pick this, but I do like her and the work that she did in this. So I like the way her arm is, and I like the way that her legs are. It's just a great pose, But yeah, so all right. So yeah, so this is cropped and edited. Like I say, this is just fun, and I love her pose. It's not about the sexy. You know what I mean? She kind of has this serene look here. So it's and I like the colors around her. This is one of my favorite images. This is a different one in that set. So There's much more of her in the frame here. You know, I like the fact that you see her legs at the bottom, but you still got a little bit of that blue on the right, and then the sky on the top, and of course that red pops off with the black. One thing I do forget, you know, oftentimes, it worked with Jessica, you know what I mean? She got that red lip that works. You know, models, unless your mouth is open on purpose, close your mouth. Open it on purpose, or put your lips together. You know, I think that looks together most times. I like the way her hands are positioned too. This is one of my favorite images. To be honest with you, you're probably gonna see this on October 31st, because I recycle images, you know, proudly, unabashedly. But I heavily processed. I like the heavy vignette around it. I mean, it's already mysterious because she's covering her face, and then, you know, once you add that shadow to it, it just looks really dark, almost like it could be, you know, almost like a movie poster type deal, you know. So I love this. And you know, a lot of people talk about straight out of camera and all that, but I love the idea of getting something and then saying, okay, what else can I do with it? It's cool if you got great images from the jump, but sometimes, you know, with a lot of the photo processing and just a lot of the other tools that we have, you can actually carve this thing until it's a lot more. You can make a mess too, but you can carve it until you get a whole lot more, you know. Yeah, again, love this image. Cropped in a little bit more just to get this car out of the frame a little bit. I love the way her heels are stacked on top of each other. And you know, I did some light dodging and burning to kind of bring out, you know, this highlight here, this shadow, this highlight, and just light editing, you know. So brought the exposure down on the background so she pops off of the screen just a little bit more. So same position, same area, you know, just did something different with her hands, and I like that, you know. And then even coming over here, losing some of this color, so it's less going on here, so you see her just a little bit more. So that is my photo diary of my shoot with Jessy The Bodee. I would recommend that you do this as a photographer. Maybe not on YouTube, you don't have to do it on YouTube, but just for yourself, right? You took the pictures, maybe actually write down, what did I do? What was I thinking? Why did I use this lens? Why didn't I use this lens? What did I miss? You know, and all of those things will make you a much stronger photographer. So, all right, thanks for watching. Let me know what you think. Feel free to drop your opinions or just your thoughts on what I did, what things I could have done differently. How do you feel about this photo journal in general? Go ahead and leave that in the comments. All right, y'all, eyes up, stay sharp.